It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
It is Tuesday, May the 28th. It is not Monday. I'm saying that for my own benefit. Good morning. Very glad to be back after the long holiday weekend. Ho! Ho! I'm also saying I'm glad to be back for my own benefit because, man, I was just long enough for me to start to feel pretty chill. And then this morning came a little early. But we've got a lot to get into today. First things first, we hope everybody had a happy and safe weekend. I assume everyone took at least a moment to think about Memorial Day and all that means for all of us. Go, but take it right now, Zepp. Go ahead.
I'm doing it. All right. I got it. In there. Yep, totally.
For anybody who traveled, I did. I took a Saturday morning flight. I went down to Kentucky to spend my mom's 96th birthday with her on Thursday, and then came back here Saturday morning, walked into the Nashville, Tennessee airport at 4:45 a.m., and there were 9 million people there with me, which is what happens on Memorial Day weekend. I would have thought everybody had gotten out earlier, but no, Saturday morning still crazy. Zepp, you traveled a lot this weekend. You good? Everything on time, everything on schedule? Any nightmares?
Well, in no uncertain terms, I was reminded again this weekend that the human experience is the most unpredictable and bizarre of all the experiences in the universe. But yeah, the traveling itself, pretty smooth, up and down, and
nice.
a lot of time in the seat, but always taken care of. Had my first meal on a flight ever, and I've flown a lot of times. Ever. First time I've ever been served a meal. Normally I've slept through them or, just I don't sit in the area of a plane where you would get a meal. Had some lasagna. That kind of sucked, but was happy to have it. But no, it's, I guess the airports were busy. I was in some odd airports that weren't as busy.
The TSA on Friday screened just under 3 million airline passengers. That's the record, the most ever for a single day. It passed the previous record set back in November. Wow. 3 million people going through TSA in the States. Atlanta, for just one airport, set a record. 111,000 people in one day went through TSA. 111,000 people. Think about how many people also just arrived at that airport and how many people connected through, as it's the busiest in the world. You're talking about 250 to 300,000 people easily in the building on that day. Glad to say I was not one of them. So all good. Tony, you were here all weekend, correct? You didn't go anywhere.
No, but I was with the family. I had family come in town who probably experienced that, yes.
All right. Well, very good. So it was good that they came into town so we could all be together to watch the end of the Timberwolves season en masse. As we've all learned, what the NBA has taught us for decades, which is it takes time. You just don't have a 22-year-old guy lead you to the promised land. Just doesn't happen. Ask the Celtics about that. Jason Tatum now has them in the finals for the second time. He's like 26, 27, and we've spent 5 years going, what's wrong with him? How come he hasn't taken the leap yet? Because nobody does, and certainly no one does when they're 22, like Anthony Edwards. The Dallas Mavericks proving that if you have the two best players in a series, it's probably going to go your way.
Right.
And they most certainly do.
They made it interesting, though. They have made it fun, given some exciting moments.
Well, after the Denver series, what's up? You're the guy who said, just give me close games. Well, you've had 3 of them now. All 3 have gone against the Timberwolves, but 3 games that in the fourth quarter were up for grabs. And the difference is, as we've all learned, those last 4 minutes of a game, I mean, Kyrie Irving himself said that's what they pay us for. It's all about the final 4 minutes. And in the final 4 minutes, the Wolves have come up very, very, very lacking. Again, first time they've been this far with this young team. And as soon as the season's over and as soon as they catapult Karl Anthony Towns into outer space, we're all going to be a much better served fan base. We'll be looking forward with excitement.
Maybe let's all recite the state motto, Minnesota state motto together. Next year, we'll get them. Maybe next year. I forget exactly how it goes. I'm paraphrasing.
There's always
That's
year.
it. That's it, Tony.
Right.
Born and bred in the state. You know it. You got it.
It's tattooed in my skull.
Yeah. There's always next year.
I'm already looking forward to next year. I say that with great sincerity because the team's going to be 1 year closer to truly ripping our guts out when they do actually make the finals. That's pretty great. No, but it's been hard to watch these games. Chris Finch, the head coach, he's taken a lot of shots, but he's admitted I've made some mistakes. I don't know why we're continuing to play Cat and Gobert together. It's like we don't need two giants in the game. Go small ball, get Naz Reid out there. Let's make something happen. We'll see. I mean, Game 4 tonight. It would be great to see Minnesota pull a win out. It'd be awesome to have them come back to town thinking maybe for the first time ever someone's winning from a 3-0 from an 0-3 hole a series. But again, when you've got Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who are two of the five. Well, okay, just not to be too great, 2 of the 10 best offensive players in the league right now, and they're on the same team, and they're playing really well together and out of each other's way. Yeah. Nobody saw that coming. Those midseason changes, all this to say, the Dallas Mavericks, first half of the season were just a grease fire. They made a few moves at the trade deadline, and they've been the best team in the league since. We just didn't pay attention because we were on a roll, and we're loving the Timberwolves. But in Dallas, it's been this thing of like, oh crap, what's happening down here? They were 16-2 in their last 18 games in the regular season, and one of those games, they sat all the starters. So, this shouldn't be that much of a surprise, even though I still look at the TV every game and go, I can't believe Dallas is this good. But they actually are that good. We'll see what happens tonight. I will still watch the game. I will still watch the game with a fire inside because I do love the NBA. And speaking of the NBA, we do have to take a few minutes to discuss a huge loss. Not just for basketball fans and not just for sports fans, but I dare say a huge loss for humanity. One of the absolute greats in basketball, one of the great people, one of the great broadcasters, one of the most unique, at least to say, of all these people, Bill Walton. Let's talk about the great redhead who we lost last night in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, May 28th. Woke up yesterday, and shortly after I was enjoying some coffee and starting to perk up and look out and watch the rain come in, I took a look online and got the very sad news that Bill Walton died yesterday at the age of 71.
Broadcaster and NBA champion Bill Walton has passed away. Born William Theodore Walton III on November 5th, 1952, Bill first found basketball fame in high school, winning 2 varsity seasons.
I've done a lot of things in my life. I just try to enjoy every moment.
Walton had been a fan of the UCLA Bruins, joining the team and going on to win 2 NCAA championships in 1972 and 1973. He was the first overall draft pick in 1974 for the Portland Trail Blazers. Walton was a dominant force on the court, winning 2 NBA championships, one in 1977 with the Trailblazers and 1986 with the Celtics.
Bill was larger than life in so many ways.
We all worshipped Walton.
Walton retired from professional play in 1990, becoming a highly acclaimed sports analyst working with ESPN and Westwood One, among others. Walton would go on to win an Emmy for Best Live Sports Television Broadcast in 2001. A champion and legend of basketball. We remember Bill Walton.
Bill Walton was an absolute kook in all the best possible ways you could interpret that word. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, people I've known, spoken to over the years who just did not like him calling basketball because he was so completely outside the bounds. I mean, he wasn't outside of the box. There was no box, like with Bill Walton on the mic. That's what I loved about him. But I loved him from a young age because, A, he was one of the greatest basketball players ever, and then, B, he spent just as much time talking about music as he ever did basketball, and my brain only has 2 compartments, music and sports. So he was a guy I always felt a great affinity for, even though I was never a deadhead per se. Bill Walton was just one of those people I looked at in a lot of ways as even much younger in life. I can now look back, and I have done in the past, not just since yesterday, and recognized, I always saw him as like, that's kind of a North Star dude. Like, not that I wanted to be like him, but just do your own thing. Just completely be yourself. As genuine a dude. I spent some time with Bill Walton over the years. He came to see my former band, the Black Crowes, on a bunch of occasions. But the first time I ever met him was during the Olympics in Atlanta in 96. There was a they had a pop-up House of Blues during the Olympic Games. It's a venue that is now it's now the Tabernacle downtown Atlanta. It's a great place to see a gig. But when it first opened, it was the House of Blues. And Bob Dylan played during the last week of the Olympic Games, if memory serves. And I went down to the show. It was a late-night gig, and I'm in the balcony, me and Rosemary, and the dude in front of us stands up, and it's Bill Walton. And like many a deadhead has said, guy got stuck behind Bill Walton at the gig last night. He's literally right in front of me. And these are seats. It's not like, it's a, my seat's a little higher than his. It's like a theater seat. But he's got me by a foot almost, and I was like, damn. And when he first stood up, I was like, who is this giant in the balcony? And then I was like, oh my God, that's Bill. And at some point, just chatting and talking and he's like, isn't this amazing? Bob Dylan, the Olympic Games, everything I love about the arts and sport and what this does for the human condition. And he's literally over the sound of the band. This is the conversation we're having. And he was like, do you play music, Steve? I said, yeah, I'm a drummer. I'm actually in a band called the Black Crowes. And he's like, why didn't you say so? I'm like, well, I don't know. There's a loud concert going on, and you're Bill Walton. I'm hardly. And it was the first of, a handful of times I spent time with him. And I can tell you this, I'm one of 100,000 people that are like, oh, yeah, we were friends, because everybody he ever hung out with left thinking that guy was your buddy. Yeah. And I had him on my own sports show, my old sports show, both as a local show and then when it was a national show several times. And this is a completely true thing. I would say, we're back on Steve Gorman Sports. Bill Walton joins us on the show, and I would turn my microphone off. I would just stop, because the first 3 to 5 minutes, he was going to come in with a soliloquy about music and about sports and about him, his view of the world. And he would always have a memory and a story, and he made me feel like he made everybody feel like you're the coolest guy ever. Nice. And, a very, very, very sincere guy, a seeker who wanted everybody to feel good. And he said, I'm at my happiest when I'm making the people around me happy. And he really lived that life. So very, very sad news, man. Godspeed, Bill Walton. What a complete unicorn he was.
Wow, what a unique human.
Yeah. Oh, in every way.
Just genuine.
No sports broadcaster in American history anyway has a more colorful reel of, wait, what did that guy just say? So many great ones.
Yeah, he started back in 2019 using the term honey hole during a game. Dave Pash? I never really watched much of him. Was that his the guy he worked with all those years, Dave Pash? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Pash.
All right, here he is explaining honey hole.
If he can handle it there at the honey hole, then you're going to have a chance to come up with a whole different variety of offensive attack.
Why don't you explain that term? What is the honey hole?
A honey hole is a long-term basketball phrase where it's right at the free throw line area. That's where the honey is, right? We were talking about Winnie the Pooh. It all rolls into one, right? You're looking for the honey. So you get to the honey hole, and then good things happen. And when you're playing against the zone defense, when you're playing any kind of basketball, you want to get that ball to the free throw line, the honey hole. So that's what's going to set up your offensive attack.
I mean, he probably wasn't aware. Probably what popular culture considered the honey hole.
This is a guy who, for the record, it's funny. Like, I have a 23-year-old kid who loves basketball, and he was like, so, Dad, was Bill Walton actually good? He was such an iconic broadcaster and such a left of center culturally. I don't mean that as a political comment. I mean, he's just on his own plane. That what got lost in the last 40 years was, he's one of the best basketball players ever. At a time when he came out of college, and his first few years in Portland, he was arguably the greatest center. I mean, it was him and Jabbar. Like, they were the two best centers in basketball. He was an MVP of the league. He was the Sixth Man of the Year winner of the year in the league, two-time champion, but also a man who had 56 surgeries. I mean, his body betrayed him at a very young age. If he had health, if he had been, if he had stayed together, I mean, he literally would be like one of those top 10 all-timers. He truly was just almost a mystical basketball player. So it makes sense that he, of course, was a deadhead, and that he followed the dead all over the world. Over 1,000 dead shows in his life. And the members of the Dead shared their thoughts yesterday. Bob Weir had a nice comment. Mickey Hart, the drummer for the Dead, talked about him being his best friend ever. He said, Bill was my best friend, the best friend I ever had, an amazing person, singular, irreplaceable, giving, and loving. He called himself the luckiest man in the world, but it was us who were lucky to know him, to share the adventure with him. He really was that guy. He was just hilariously funny and unique and laughed at himself. My favorite moment of an interview, probably 2013 or 14, when he talked about milking a cow on a Wisconsin dairy farm and then went on to say, I have milked a cow. And I have been milked. And then there was the long pause. Bill Walton gone at 71. A real loss for basketball. But honest to God, it's not hyperbole. I'm not out of my mind here. Just a loss for humanity, because everywhere he went, he left people feeling better. And there's not a whole lot of people we can say that about.
Sounds like a good dude. Here he is in 02 talking about 31 surgeries he had on his feet with David Letterman.
This past summer when I had my 31st operation.
Now, see, that's what, on your feet?
On my feet,
most of them. That's what I was talking about. That's crazy, isn't it?
When I was lying in the hospital bed, and it's a very serious major operation, 6 months of just laying down there. And my second son, Nathan, who was 24 years old, he came over and sat on the edge of the bed, and he said, Dad, it's been a long, hard road for you. What are you going to do when your foot finally gets better? What are you going to do when you get up out of this bed? He said, Nathan, I am never going to sit down again. So now that we're here in the playoffs, the basketball game has been my life.
Awesome. Godspeed, Bill. We're going to miss you, brother. It's time to head west in a few moments. The Mike Evans Hollywood Report for a Tuesday coming up. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Steve and Zepp and Tony. Good morning, KQRS country. I hope you had a great 3-day holiday, and happy days are here again. It's Tuesday. Any Tuesday, $6 for any movie at Marcus Theaters. It's the best buy every Tuesday for the whole year. And I bet you there's movies out there you want to see. Today's the day. Take the day off. Go check out a movie at Marcus Theaters. Only $6. All right. As you well know, being with you for decades, I have covered a lot of trials, starting with the Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh's trial that was held in Denver because it was a federal case. Covered all three of O.J. Simpson's trials, Scott Peterson's double murder trial, Martha Stewart's trial, Michael Jackson's molestation trial that was held in Santa Barbara, the Phil Spector murder trial, even the rape pre-trial of Kobe Bryant in Colorado. And although I did not cover any of the Donald Trump trial, couldn't get credentials if I tried, with the jury getting instructions today and a verdict expected, everybody waiting, I'm going to make my prediction of a verdict. The verdict of the Donald Trump trial, my prediction is hung jury. But wait a minute. What do I know? I thought O.J. Simpson was guilty, but it should be interesting. More court news last week. Alec Baldwin's attorneys demanded that the involuntary manslaughter case against Alec be dismissed. Well, Friday afternoon, the judge finally handed down his decision. And as I predicted on your show on Thursday, the order by the judge of the involuntary manslaughter case to be dismissed was denied. And I plan to cover that trial too. Maybe only be in the courtroom 1 or 2 days, but I'm planning on going to Santa Fe, New Mexico in July when that thing starts. So sad to hear the passing of Bill Walton yesterday. I haven't talked to Bill, spoken to him in probably 30 years, but back in the old days, it was quite a different story. I remember in 1974 when Bill left UCLA, moved on, probably at the time the greatest basketball player in the country in college, drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers. He was a wild, anti-establishment young man. He was even investigated by the FBI about having information regarding the Sudanese Liberation Army and Patty Hearst's kidnapping. It was thought that maybe he helped hide Patty in a cabin that he owned in Portland up in the woods. Well, Bill certainly mellowed out with age. He was just a great guy, great father, great grandfather. May he rest in peace. Bill Walton, gone at the age of 71. The Cannes Film Festival is over, and director Francis Ford Coppola's new hideous movie called Megalopolis cost $120 million to make and was paid for by Francis Ford Coppola via his wine profits. The movie only got a 39% positive rating at the Cannes Film Festival, and I have two comments. First, Francis Ford Coppola should have stopped after The Godfather. That was by far the best thing he ever did. And second, I hope he kept some of his wine because he's going to need to do a lot of drinking when that movie opens and it bombs. And believe me, Megalopolis will bomb. And June is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And being from the island of Oahu, I love my Hawaiian islands. I love Apia, Western Samoa, Pongo, American Samoa, and Bali, the Cook Islands. I'll be tipping a glass of wine to the Pacific Islands in the month of June. To me, guys, it's the most beautiful place on earth, the Pacific Islands. Hey, have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Evans, see ya.
It's Tuesday.
There is the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
There it is.
There it was. That was it. Or a court report. Not sure what we would call that. I tell you what, I'm ready to look back. May 28th, a couple of Barry Bonds stories for you. 1998, 2 outs, bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth. Barry Bonds stepped up to the plate against Arizona, and Diamondbacks manager Buck Showalter ordered his pitcher to walk Barry Bonds. The bases were loaded. They were down by 2 runs, and Buck Showalter went, no, just walk him. I don't care. Make it 8-7. I'll take my chances with the next guy. Okay, imagine being the next guy. Right. They're going to just give a run because they think they can get you out. Bonds was only the 4th player in history to be intentionally walked with the bases loaded, and the first since 1944. Yeah, he was that good. On this day in 2006, he hit his 715th career home run. That allowed him to pass Babe Ruth on the all-time list into second place. And if you remember, there were all those crazy rumors that Bonds might have been using performance-enhancing drugs back then.
That's crazy.
In part because of his home run production after he turned 35. It exploded. And then also in part because his head was twice the size it had been during his rookie campaign.
Yeah.
Wild times that.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 28th. And about an hour from right now, we're going to give away a couple of tickets to the KQ Karaoke Cruise. We're going to, of course, make a listener play a game. We're not going to give them away. You're going to have to earn them. But stay tuned. We'll let you know when to call in and be a part of that. That's in a little under an hour from right now. That'll be fun. That's a fun fact for the day, but it is Tuesday, the runt of the week. You know, I mean, what is Tuesday's point, really? I mean, think about it. Yeah. You know, every other day, you immediately have things you associate, good and or bad. But Tuesday's just kind of there. It's just it's just a bridge to get to Hump Day. But you know, so we thought this is a perfect day to share some unfun facts. Just a few things you might need to know. You can take away from this show. You know, you bump into somebody. You know what I heard on the air today? And these are unfun facts because it's Tuesday and that's how that works. You know, like I say, they don't call it Fat Tuesday for nothing.
All right. Fun is just generally more interesting than fun.
I fully agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Here's one that occurs to me as I did have my yearly physical last week. Check up with the doctor once a year. Went in last week. This is an unfun fact. Persistent hiccups. So let's stop right there. I mean, my God, aren't hiccups the worst?
The worst.
I get them every year or two, and then I'll get them 3 or 4 times in a few day period, and then I don't get them again for a long time. But when I get hiccups once, I know I'm going to get them again, and then probably another time shortly thereafter. It's a real drag. However, now I know that persistent hiccups, can be stopped with a digital rectal massage. Now, when I say digital, I don't mean like not analog, as in digital. I mean as in a digit, meaning... I don't know, maybe your index finger or someone else's.
And you discovered that.
Or 2 for a good time.
How?
I haven't discovered that, but I'm reading it and I'm taking it to be true. So if you want to give yourself a prostate exam, wait till you have the hiccups next, and then you kill two birds with one stone.
No, do you have to do it yourself?
I would imagine that is also oftentimes the cause of hiccups. I mean, nothing makes my diaphragm spasm more than when the doctor says, okay, this will just take a second, and then woo. Yeah, Moon River.
Turn and cough.
Yeah, that's it. But hey, as I already threw it out there, I did have my checkup last week, and everything's okay.
Good report?
Yeah, good report.
Good to hear. That's almost a fun fact, though.
That can be. Well, it's you know what? It's truly how you look at things. It's fun or unfact.
Right.
This is one that I think is only unfun. Yesterday, May 27th, was the 116th anniversary of the outbreak of the bubonic plague in San Francisco. Okay, somehow I've made it this long without realizing the bubonic plague hit San Francisco in the year 1907. What in the world? 55 people were diagnosed over the summer. The federal government finally got involved, and then they quarantined everybody. About half of those 55 people perished. I never knew the bubonic plague happened on the west coast of the United States of America.
It was in Florida for a while, I know.
When your skin becomes red from spending too much time in the sunlight, that's what happens to me on a regular basis. As a child, pretty good tanner. I mean, I could get a nice summer tan going.
Yeah.
The older I got, the more the Irish came out of me. Mm-hmm. And now I turn red real quick out in the sun. That's what happens because your skin cells are basically committing suicide to avoid becoming cancerous.
Well, thanks for taking a hit for the team.
That's what I'm saying.
Kamikaze cells.
So don't complain about that sunburn next time. Be glad.
Yeah.
Be glad about that sunburn. My wife, being of the Italian nature that she is, her gene pool, boy, she used to go... she went right from, no sun to just a deep brown, like in a matter of minutes. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
you could literally watch her get darker. And I just sit there next to her going I think 50 SPF is probably the best thing for me right now.
Right.
These things happen. Okay, here's another unfun fact. Dead people can get goosebumps.
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps.
I don't have any other details, but that's enough for me.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be weird. Are we sure they're dead?
That's probably a good way to test. I mean, or you would think that would be a litmus test. Goosebumps, you're not dead, but apparently they do.
Or silent cry for help.
Well, you always hear that dead people the hair and nails will continue to grow after someone expires. Did you know that? Let's go back to before life. A fetus grows a mustache in the womb. Every fetus does. That then spreads and covers the entire body. Gross. The baby will then eat all that hair. It's called lanugo, and then it excretes it after with their first bowel movement.
What? Why?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to. I just want to share really uncomfortable truths with it.
Just a big hairball poop.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Inside mom's womb.
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Thanks for the penis.
Kind of gross.
God.
Speaking of it, here's another unfun fact. Thanks to some people in Sweden. Okay, let's go back. Joe Jackson, English singer-songwriter. Great. Great artist.
Like him.
Had the Night and Day album with Steppin' Out was the big hit.
Right.
There was a song on there called Cancer. And the line was, everything gives you cancer. There's no cure, there's no answer. Because that was the time when it would literally every day they'd be like, and also Tab gives you cancer. You'd be like, but it's my caffeine jolt, sugar-free Tab, whatever it was, right? Well, now doctors in Sweden are saying that tattoos can cause cancer. Not that tuxedoed man on Fantasy Island. Not Hervé Villachez, but literally tattoos. People who are inked have a 21% higher risk of developing lymphoma.
Holy cow. Well, there is a whole lot of lymphoma coming.
You would think so. They're saying that based on what they're looking at, the ink triggers an immune response, and some of that will get deposited into your lymph nodes. The low-grade inflammation from that might be the cause. They're not exactly sure, but they're saying that looking at 12,000 patients, 21% higher risk of people with tattoos to get lymphoma. It's just one of those things again. Really? I was drunk. I was in Holland. I got some barbed wire. Now I got to pay the ultimate price.
Yeah,
that doesn't
right.
make sense.
There's a whole lot of tattoos out there.
There really are. And by the way, they said small tattoos, big tattoos, doesn't matter. It's just any amount can trigger that response.
I suppose the more tattoos you have, the higher your chances because it's secreting that into your lymph nodes each time you have a tattoo.
Well, that's what you would think, but they're just saying it. They didn't say the number of tattoos, but they did say the size doesn't matter. I don't know. Remains to be seen. But there's reason number 140 why I don't have tattoos.
What if it's new ones or old ones that they changed the ink formula?
Could be. Maybe. What if it was just those fake henna tattoos?
Right.
I read Eat, Pray, Love, and I came back and I got this tattoo, and I have lymphoma. I could totally see it. Here's a good one. Here's a real unfun fact. Fires are more dangerous in the winter. Water is more likely to freeze while trying to put out the fires, which weighs down the house and then can collapse the structure. That's just, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad enough. You got a fire, then you got to think about what time of year it is. How about this one, the pinky promise? Ever done a pinky promise as a kid? Did you ever do that?
Many times. Oh, many times.
The pinky promise originally indicated that the person who breaks the promise must cut off their pinky.
That's fair.
I love that.
Yeah.
Some people out there owe me some pinkies.
I've been contemplating losing my right pinky toe for about 3 weeks since I stubbed it so hard. It still hurts. I can't. I probably.
Tape it?
No, of course not. Way too much sense to tape it and take care of it. I just keep thinking I'm going to wake up and it'll be fixed. So far, no. It still looks like I have a very small land mammal on this end of my foot, like a little red mouse just right there next to my other toes.
Give it a name.
Give it a name. I'll go with Mike. Just a big solid name. Mike's your buddy. Mike's your pal.
It's Rudolph. Red nose there on your foot.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I like that pinky promise. Now that makes sense. I often wondered where the pinky promise came from, but yeah, that's putting some. That's literally putting a digit on the line. Pinky getting cut off.
Yeah. That's kind of a big deal. Makes me rethink. I mean, so what does that mean about like a when you say we're blood brothers or a blood oath? I mean, I guess back in the day, people took things like that way more seriously than now.
Yeesh.
Now you just say, "I'm sorry, but I was a sex addict. I didn't know what to do. I'm in counseling."
My bad.
Oops.
Yeah, pinky.
Okay, so in a lot of food and beverage production, the concept of where food comes from, there are thresholds for certain things to get into the food that you don't want in there, and different companies, different brands, different items have different thresholds. There's a non-zero. Almost always they're looking for zero. There's a non-zero maximum threshold for ground coffee. What is the non-zero maximum threshold keeping out for the amount of cockroach that can be present in your ground coffee? Because coffee distributors and manufacturers around the world have determined it is literally impossible to keep all cockroaches out of your ground coffee.
Well, they're that same color, aren't they? You just can't see the cockroach.
Yeah.
Pieces.
It's okay. You boil it down.
Yeah, you boil it, and it's just a little cockroach, a little beetle, and other delicacies in other countries.
Yeah, so if you're thinking of opening a coffee shop, just call it the scarab or the beetle or something. Come up with some beetle-like, cockroach-like name, and then you can just wink at yourself like how clever you are. So there is one. Here's your last unfun fact for the day. Let's talk about penguins.
Yes.
I mean, how adorable are penguins? They do that little waddle.
Fairly, yeah.
They're always fancy dressed. I mean, they're just always down for a formal event.
Lots of penguin kid movies.
Yeah,
always.
Of course.
Every couple of years, Morgan Freeman's narrating a new one. There's a new animated penguin movie. Kids love them.
There is a penguin. There's a lot of different breeds of penguins. One is called the Adelie penguin, or maybe it's Adelie, Adelie, the Adelie or the Adelie penguin. Studied by several researchers, they found this one particular species has several practices of a sexual nature that are so disturbing that the findings were almost not published. It was a great debate of whether we should share this information or not, because apparently these penguins, there was a lot of Well, I just have to say it. A lot of rape, a lot of necrophilia.
Penguins.
See that.
Yeah,
okay, now that's the first thing about penguins that makes sense to me because they're in a frozen tundra.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the end of the sentence. They're in a frozen tundra their entire lives. You're going to lose it, They put scientists up there for 1 year, and then they got to get them out of there.
Sure.
Because they're going to go bonkers and start, rape and necrophilia. Jeez, man.
It's pretty rough. You just, but it just goes to show, you put anyone in a tuxedo and you just assume they're on the up and up. But no, that's not the case at all. And then finally, there is now video out of Beijing, China, where apparently there are vending machines on the streets selling, wait for it, live animals.
Oh, okay.
Cats and dogs. Need a pet?
Oh,
Go find a vending machine.
It's like our snack machines,
Pretty much.
They eat dogs over there, right?
Small compartments within the machine. People are noting that the pets do appear healthy. They seem like they're being taken care of. They're not stuck in there every day. They are brought out. They're fed. They're given water.
Yeah, grass-fed.
Right back into the vending machine. Yeah. The first time I've been to Japan several times. First time I went, 1992, I was amazed to see there are vending machines on the streets with beer. You could just buy a beer on the street. Mm-hmm. And there was a bottle of Sapporo. It was a half gallon. It's huge. and I just would buy those and walk around all day, jet lagged, miserable, having a bit of a nervous breakdown and just drinking some. I couldn't tell if the beer was helping or hurting.
Nice.
With hindsight, I think it was probably a hindrance to getting a little healthier state of mind. But I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. You can get beer just on the street in a vending machine. What an amazing thing. That's Japan. However, that's got nothing on just buy yourself a puppy in China from a vending machine. I mean, and here we have those, what is it, Carvana? It's just like a giant machine. You hit a button and the car comes out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I've seen those in other cities. Yeah. Just looks like a big Matchbox setup. But,
it does.
Real cars. You just push a button and it spits out a car.
None of this is fun. But then again, that's why we call it Unfun Facts. There's your Unfun Facts for a Tuesday on the KQ Morning Show. Glad we could be a part of that. By the way, so you know what? There's another. We do have a few local/regional stories to get to. And this includes, and this is fun, a great new recipe for brain worms. I've got it, and I'm going to share it with you. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 28th. The CDC just released a report about... What is it called? Trichinella. Is that what it is? Let me see here 1 second. Trichinella. Those are parasites you can get into your bloodstream. This is a story that it happened a couple years ago, but the CDC, they publish reports. It takes a little while to get all the details in, but here is basically what it comes down to. The Minnesota Department of Health was flagged a couple of years ago. A 29-year-old man, otherwise very healthy, had been hospitalized multiple times over a 2.5-week period. He had fever, severe muscle soreness, swelling around the eyes, and other maladies. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Swelling around the eyes. Let me tell you something. If my eyes are swelling up, I'm not leaving the hospital till someone tells me they know what's going on. You're not going to have to hospitalize me multiple times. I'm checking in and I'm staying in until you tell me why it looks like I got, salami shoved in my eyelids.
Oh, a little Visine, you're fine.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Put a steak on that.
Following his second hospitalization, as doctors are still like, dude, anything unusual? Anything happened? Did you? He said, a few days ago, I was at a family gathering over in South Dakota. And, we grilled out, and some of my family from northern Saskatchewan brought down some black bear meat, and we ate some kebabs with black bear meat. As it turns out, that was the source of these parasites. One thing leads to another. Several members of this family find themselves with what are literally known as brain worms. Brain worms. The meat had been in a freezer for a month and a half. It was thawed out for the meal. Bear meat, apparently darker than most meats in color, so it was initially served rare. was undercooked. Family members that began eating the kebabs noted, hey, this tastes underdone. So they were like, well, hang on, put it back on the flame. So then they recooked it, and then it was served again. 9 family members ate this meal, and some of them only had vegetables that had been prepared alongside the meat. However, people, including a 12-year-old girl who had only eaten vegetables, all got sick. 6 in total. 6 of the 9 diagnosed with these freeze-resistant worms. Again, it was in the bear. The bear meat was frozen, and the worms do not die in the deep freeze.
And it got in the brain, or it's just a brain worm that was in the bod?
It went into the worm. It went into the brains of these folks. Now, there is a way to treat this. It was treated. All 3, so the family members were all hospitalized. They were treated with something called albendazole. The Mayo Clinic says that keeps the worms from absorbing sugar. That way the worm loses energy and dies. Okay,
in your brain?
So you think about this. They're like, we're going to give you this medicine, and now all those worms in your body, this will keep them from being able to absorb sugar, and they'll eventually die. I want this to kill them immediately. We're not going to starve them out, wipe them out. Are you kidding me?
No hanging out.
Maybe a lobotomy or something. Zap them, electrocute yourself just slightly, just a little bit. Maybe this reminds me, speaking of in South Dakota, some sausages that were made. I don't know who made them because I was a little kid, but Thad, my cousin, got tapeworm from eating those dang things. And they would pull them out of him. They were like several inches long, and there's one, like you'd see one sticking out of the ground and get a hold of it and just pull that out of him. Brain worms. That'd be worse. That would suck. I wonder if you could feel them in your brain. Probably not.
RFK Jr. said earlier that he had a parasitic worm in his brain, and he said, in fact, ate a portion of his brain. Interestingly enough.
Explains it,
Never had brain worms. Do remember an outbreak of a little something they call pinworms as a child.
Oh, really?
You know what that is?
No.
Pinworms are, if you're a kid and you have pinworms, you just get an incredible itch right there at the what they call the dirt star in certain quarters. You just feel like you got to wipe yourself constantly. Something, you just get it. You're just kind of dirty kid.
Fidgeting now.
Went to the doctor. He said, "Oh, you've got pinworms." He gave me what was the first time I ever heard the expression horse pill. It was the biggest pill I'd ever seen.
Oh,
it took a second to swallow it.
Yeah.
No, it was not. I wish it were. No, I had to swallow a pill, and then within next time I took care of business, all the pinworms were gone.
Oh, wow.
Well, that makes. That's where you find them in your dogs, right? You're supposed to check the poop, the dog poop, see if they have worms.
In case you're wondering, symptoms of brain worm infection can include nausea. Okay, had it. Vomiting, done it. Headaches, sure, but seizures. Haven't had the seizures. So if you got any combination of those things, maybe. But however, here's the best part: some people who contract the worms may see no symptoms at all.
Oh.
Then what do we then? Okay.
You live with it.
And then just what? Drop dead, or just get dumber, or
I think that's it.
Cook your bear meat. Cook the bear meat.
You ever had bear?
Let's go right back to the source. If you're gonna eat bear, cook it. Zepp,
cook it up.
When did you eat bear?
Oh, my dad shot a black bear out in Idaho, so we had that bear, and it comes up from time to time. Wild game feeds, and we know people that lots of bear meat around Minnesota. As we have a bear season, we have 2 bear seasons here. So, you run into bear from time to time.
On the 0 to 10 gamey meter, where does bear meat fit?
It's not one of my favorites. I don't seek out bear meat. I don't consider it a delicacy. I don't harvest it for that, reason primarily is one of the reasons I don't bear hunt. I don't really want to eat it, but some people really dig it. I think it's all in the way you prepare it. Felt like it was kind of like bad pork. I know some of my buddies are going to get mad at me. I'm going to get a text or 2 on this. Like, bear meat, you got to. I'm sure there's always a way to. I'm sure you can slop enough gravy or stew something enough to make it good. But I didn't hate it, but I wasn't asking for more bear.
Got it. Wow. I just don't think about bear being something. I think about bears of all sorts just being completely unpredictable and soundly terrifying, and I would never think about eating one myself.
Yeah. Well, when you eat them, you consume their soul and their strength and their spirit. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, that changes everything.
You may have seen that in a cartoon.
Well, then, if that's the case, then I will only eat grizzly. I'm not going to waste my time with one of these little black bears.
I know you can't get grizzly; they're protected. You got to stick with the black bears. But, yeah, and they hunt the hell out of them up in Canada. I have some friends that go up there probably just about every year hunting them. But, yeah, nothing with worms, please. I'll stay away from the worms.
Here's a little so that's over in South Dakota and then lend itself across the state line into Minnesota. Here's something, speaking of Minnesota news. Anoka, a few months ago, started letting folks walk around with alcoholic drinks, strolling outside in town and on the sidewalks.
Okay. What?
You can walk into selected businesses. It's the social district concept is what they call it. There's just parts of town. It's like, hey, you know what? Why not let people walk around and have a cocktail or two?
You know, this is booze. This is the bars trying to compete now because we had the story last week that more young people now, for the first time in history in the United States, I guess, are smoking weed as opposed to drinking booze. They've got to fight back. They've got to make it more fun, loosen the belt. Why don't you take it for a walk down the street?
The social district concept is expanding to 2 more cities, Stillwater.
Oh, wow.
And
Stillwater, should be.
Makes sense.
Stillwater's a big beer garden. Just make Stillwater a big old beer garden. You know?
Pretty much. That's what it feels like. So, they're going. So there was a trial district in Anoka last year. It was such a success. So for the summer, it's a summer thing. It's not year round.
Yeah.
But for the summer, and now Stillwater and Shakopee going with their own versions of this. So. I don't mind this. It's like, until someone throws up on my shoes, what do I care? Walk down the street, have yourself a drink.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to come out of the bar drunk. If you're there to create some mayhem, you're up to no good, you're looking for trouble, you're just as likely to find it without a drink in your hand coming out of the bar. So, let's get it out in the open, have a little fun. They do it during street dances and Anoka up there. They'll fence some things off, so it happens, and if everyone behaves themselves,
there are some ground rules. There are some ground rules. You are only allowed to carry alcohol in clearly marked cups that you purchase from participating bars and restaurants. It's not like you can't just whip out a flask of your own. You have to purchase the alcohol at a participating establishment. And while drinking, you can only stroll around a specific area of downtown, and window stickers within the district make it clear which businesses will allow you to bring your drink inside. You got yourself a cocktail. You want to go look at some antiques. You got to make sure they got that sticker in the window that says, yes, bring your booze in here and look at our antiques.
All right. It's getting a little more complicated, but I think we can follow along with these rules. You just got to learn them, right?
Mm-hmm. Once you learn the rules,
what could possibly go wrong?
It's like any other thing. Learn the rules so you can forget them. Isn't that what they tell? As a great musician once said,
rules are for fools. I think.
Rules are for fools. And this reminds me of a list I saw. The real feats for drinkers. These are the things that you got to do at least once if you're in your drinking. I'd say career isn't the word. Just in your drinking experience, a list of things everybody should do at least once. Some of these we've all clearly done. First one, easy: drink before noon. We've all done that.
Oh yeah.
No.
Sneak alcohol into a place you're not supposed to have it. Well, sure, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the first things you do.
Yeah, Studio
high school
C.
dance or whatever.
Yeah.
Officially settle on the drink that is, quote, your drink. Have you ever? Do you have your drink?
Yeah.
Well, I have my drink for a while, and then I get tired of it. I like to knock around some of the classics. Went through my martini phase and my old-fashioned phase, and my apple-tini phase. No.
I understand. The only time I had a drink that was mine was I did work the Greyhound over for a while, gin and grapefruit juice. There was a period of time when that was my thing.
Yeah, I didn't. I was a vodka guy myself. Gin gives me a wicked headache. So I opt for the vodka option, but I like a good Greyhound. And I don't want to sound snooty about this because it is the alcoholic's choice, the Greyhound. It's come up on the KQ Morning Show. Used to send Stretch down to these bars that would open up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they would get sets. They were called sets, not doubles, but that was 3 Greyhounds. If you ordered a set, it was 3 Greyhounds per order. And so I tease that. But if you get a really good fresh squeezed grapefruit and then put your booze in that, it's very tasty, very refreshing, almost healthy, nice. I think. Yeah.
All right. Have you ever purchased a 6-pack of beer, walked out of the liquor store, and handed a beer to like a bum standing there outside? Just here you go.
I don't believe I have. No,
I've done that. I have done that. I've just handed a guy a drink as opposed to a couple of bucks.
That's
yeah. It wasn't from a 6-pack. It was from a 12-pack, actually. Now that I think back about it.
Okay. Well, that's
just saying. Again, this is just a list of things we're all supposed to do at least once.
Yeah, I had a friend right over, not too far from where we're working, stop and offer a sandwich, a fully wrapped, brand new sub sandwich. It wasn't something you take a couple of bites out of to a homeless person. Or, well, I don't know if they were homeless, but they were, asking for some assistance with their cardboard sign right there on the corner of the sidewalk. And he said, I'm going to give them a sandwich. I said, they don't want a sandwich. They want the money. They said, no, they just said they need some help. And I bet they're hungry, and they've been standing out here all day. I bet they want the sandwich, and they knocked the sandwich out of his hand. Up in the air, actually. Walked over, and he goes, and they came over to the window expecting money. He rolled it down, and he said, here, I have this sub. I just got it. It's fresh, unwrapped for you. And they went up in the air, and no one got to eat the sub. So, but I bet if he had handed him a beer, they would have taken the beer.
Wouldn't have spilled one drop.
No.
Have you ever tended bar for at least a shift just to see what it's like?
Yeah. Hard work, man.
I never have. I've never tended a bar.
Yeah,
wow.
I did. Yeah,
it's stressful.
I bet it's stressful. You're just like, you're the most important person in everyone's life.
I made up every drink. And first of all, it was supposed to be just a wine and beer bar. And it was a promotional thing we're doing, and Zepp's going to bartend. And I was out there, and people started ordering other drinks, and I literally made them up. I started pouring, gin and bourbon in a glass with, whatever, something blue. Oof. And I just started selling them and handing them out. And I don't remember if a lot of people were complaining or not. But, it can be stressful. That whole sitting around, that Sam Malone sitting around Cheers, hobnobbing with everybody.
Yeah, wiping off the counter.
No, not at all.
You ever bought a round for the entire bar?
Yeah, on one of our KQ cruises, unfortunately.
No.
For the boat?
So what happened was we had two boats, and I had the microphone. I had a microphone, and I was upstairs in one of the boats, and there was probably about 20 people in there. And I said, I'm going to buy everyone here a shot, feeling awfully generous. No one told me that the microphone extended and the PA system extended to both levels of that boat and the next boat, which you could travel into our boat. And pretty soon there were 300-400 people at the line, which I paid. And I will say this, and I don't know if it was Paddleford or not, but I will say this: when I'm standing there trying to calculate the tip, that little angel on the other side of the bar said, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we can't accept tips." And I went, "Oh, that's BS." Oh, I was going to give you the biggest tip ever, but that might have stopped it from bouncing, because I had a debit card, and it was a little touch and go there for a second. But
smokes.
That was a bad one.
Yeah,
I mean, a good one.
is.
Yeah, they're bad.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, where are all these people coming from? Everybody heard you were giving out? Yeah.
That's
Careful
pretty good
when you have a mic in your hand.
I've done it twice. The first time it was maybe 7 people, but it was sincere. I wasn't looking around going, there's only 7 people. I was just like, next round's on me, and everybody cheered. And then I was like,
do you remember what the occasion was?
Just being drunk in New York City. Just found a great hole in the wall and loved it. Yeah. The other time I did it, it wasn't like, and this says buy a round for the entire bar, do it anonymously. I'm 0 for 2, because the other time I did it, it wasn't my choice. I did hit once in my life a hole in one playing golf.
Oh, yeah.
Not miniature golf, but golf. And the tradition is you walk into the bar after the round of golf, and you, as the guy who hit the hole in one, you buy a round for the whole bar.
Sure.
Yeah.
And not only did I have to do that, but I hit a hole in one on a hole that the bar had a balcony that overlooked the green. So I had a whole audience of people who'd already finished their rounds. There were literally 40 to 50 people on this outdoor patio watching us all hit on this par 3. And I hit a hole in one, and it was really thrilling that all these people saw it. Until we're walking towards the green, and the guy I'm with goes, well, every one of those people's cheering because you're going to buy them a drink. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And I walked into that bar, and we were only playing 9 holes that day, so we were done. Walk in, face the firing squad. It was over 50 drinks. I was just like, yep, here we go. And then I was thinking, this would really be impressive if I bought another round. And then I was talked out of that by a more sober friend of mine at the time, and I got out for free.
Your guardian angel.
Man.
Oh, man.
Of course, I know plenty of golfers who, if you said to them, you'll have to buy 50 drinks, but you get a hole-in-one, they're just, of course, I'll buy 500 drinks. I don't care, because I'd only been playing golf for about a year when that happened, and I can tell you this, friends, it ain't happened since.
Well, no.
I remember thinking, like, man, this is awesome, man. That's I told that story a few times with these words. Man, I hit my first hole-in-one. Still my first and only. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen again anytime soon.
They'll put you in a small crowd, man.
Man, I tell you what. How great is drunk golf until it's not?
Till it's not.
When you're hammered and you play 18 and you're like, you know what, screw it, let's go for another 9. Load up that cooler with 6 more. And then around the third hole of your third 9 is usually when the wheels always come off.
Always.
You're having the best time with your friends and you're golfing drunk, and then suddenly you are in hell. And there's
everybody
no escape.
gets angry at the same time. Yep. It all falls apart at the same time. It doesn't get boring. It, like you said, it's a train derailment. It's a foursome of drunken golfers is like a game of Jenga. It's just going, and it's more fun, and it's more fun, and it's cooler and cooler, and then it falls apart in an instant, and you never want to see these people again. You hate all 3 of them. You hate yourself for being that drunk on a golf course. Done that a few times. Oh, the final thing on this list is, and of course we've all done this as well, you get so drunk that you swear off drinking forever. Ever. Yeah.
Forever.
I mean, that's the...
Happens.
Yeah, that's the mantra, right? That's the big joke on yourself. I'm never going to do this again. And every time you say it, I don't know, I can only speak for myself. I meant it. I wasn't just saying it to say it.
Yeah.
At the time. No, at the time. No. Tony, I'm done drinking. That's it. I've had it. I've got to clean my act up. I feel terrible. I'm wasting an entire day. I'm not doing it again. And even in that same day, I've been coaxed back to it.
Sure.
But,
Oh, I see.
No, the harder you fall, the higher you bounce. Remember that.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May 28th. Hope everybody had a great extended weekend. Over the weekend, one of the most viral clips on all forms of social media came from Wheel of Fortune. They had a puzzle up on the board. It's a 4-word phrase, and the letters you could see on the board, the first word had 4 letters, none of which were exposed. And then you had an I blank, and then the third word was T blank E, which is obviously the. And then the fourth word was B blank blank T. So basically, I'll just go ahead and tell you what it spelled. This is the best. That's the puzzle. That's what they're looking for. This is the best. But one of the contestants, Tavares, very confidently read it a little wrong and weighed in with this guess.
Our first toss-up is worth $1,000. Category is phrase, and off we go. Tavares, right in the butt.
Yeah, for a good time.
Blake.
This is the best.
Yeah, that's
right in the butt.
That's your
Teacher's
go-to
pet there. Yeah,
man. Right in the butt, which, by the way, the word right, I mean, maybe he was meaning it as like a rite of passage, R-I-T-E, because there's only 4 letters there.
Yes.
Right in the butt. No. Boy, that's this man's going to go down in Wheel of Fortune history.
Yeah, he had a great look on his face, too. He knew he'd screwed that one up.
What is probably about once a year, one of these shows, Family Feud's always a big one. They stack up.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of them. But there's almost, probably once a year, somebody goes for something in the butt. They think in the butt's just in play at all times.
No, I'm sorry.
No? Huh?
And
what?
Brittany and Rhonda.
Professional gynecologist.
I knew that was coming. Nope.
I knew that was coming.
Also, Olivia and Otto.
Professional genealogist.
There you go.
I mean, the heat's on, the lights are in your face.
Right.
They're big vacations, cash up for grabs.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Wheel of Fortune.
I'd like to solve.
Okay.
bridal and gold shower.
Ooh. Kinky.
The crowd. You go with what you know.
I'd like to solve.
Okay.
Bridal and cold shower.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, wow.
A little better.
Man. Whatever, we've all got kinks, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes they're just nonsensical. I love this one, too.
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Okay. Boozing my shore excursion.
No.
No.
Josh, it's your
I'd like to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
Booking my shore excursion.
Well, you say booking, I say boozing.
Oh man! I mean, I know how frantic it gets around here when we play Beat the Toaster. So just imagine that being a syndicated TV show that millions of people will be watching.
Right. I can't say it. I've been chastised too many times this month. I'm going to let it go. Never mind.
No, I'm sorry.
It was a first date story, playing Scrabble with the family.
You can't open that door and not run through it.
My brother's, like I've mentioned very many times, my brother, very religious, born again, does some pastoring himself, and is dating a woman. And in fact, it's the first time he brought her home to meet my mom and dad, and out comes the Scrabble board. So they don't want to get into an argument, and mom dominates. So it's time for mom to, show off a little bit in front of Chris's first date. They get the Scrabble board out, and she ends up spelling the C word.
Oh,
the first date did, not mom.
Wow.
Chris's first date ended up laying down the C word on the Scrabble board.
What?
That is Chris's wife, by the way, who's also very religious and a wonderful, beautiful mother of three. And when I say beautiful, I mean beautiful on the inside and outside. Thoroughly wonderful person, very much unlike her, but she said she just panicked. And that's the only word that she had in front of her. And that's when I immediately said, Chris, you've got yourself a keeper there. I like this one.
I thought you were going to say she was, I didn't think panic. I thought you were going to say she thought it meant something else or she was confused about, she knew what she was doing.
She just panicked and laid it down. And mom and dad handled it very well. Mom said, well, we're going to go ahead and score that.
Yeah, you got to go for the points.
Went for the points. But so when you're in the heat of the moment, you get a little nervous. You do things, you say things.
Hilarious.
I just came across something here, just further proof that there's such a thing as having too much money. Something about being a billionaire just makes people lose their cotton picking minds. A gentleman from Ohio, his name is Larry Connor from Dayton. He's a billionaire, and he has now announced he's going to take a deep sea submersible to the Titanic to prove that they're safe. Remember last year, the deep sea submersible that imploded and killed the people?
Yeah.
Well, this guy's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'll show you that it's really great to do.
You know who's excited about this?
His wife.
His heir. Yeah, right.
Whoever he's leaving behind.
Go ahead, honey.
What is it about having all the money you could ever need for 100 lifetimes that makes you want to figure out how many lifetimes you're going to get sooner than later?
You're equating money. It comes with all that hubris, right? You're equating money with power.
I guess so.
I'm talking about omnipotent power, that kind where you're above death somehow.
Completely nuts. I give me $1 billion and watch me disappear.
Or do you have to be that nuts to get the billion? Do you have to kind of...
It's a different type of nuts. I'm not saying that we're not all nuts in our own way, but there's a certain group of us.
Yeah.
Wow, boy, you just start adding zeros to all that crazy. Yeah, of all the things to do with your money and your time, you know what? I'm going to prove, yes, the Titanic, which is buried thousands of feet below the surface.
Yeah. And if you do it, no one's going to really care because they've already been down there.
Yeah.
They've already dove down there. We've seen a lot of footage. We've been through it. Cameron, that's the guy I'm trying to think of, the director.
James Cameron.
Yeah, they've been down there already.
I've got billions of dollars, and I want to be remembered. Okay, why don't you, end poverty? No, hang on. Okay, you could, like all the schools in your district, you could refurbish them and pay the teachers a great salary. No, that's not it. No. Okay, why don't you, maybe take care of literally tens of thousands of veterans of the military service who could use your help. No, I got it. I'm going to go to the Titanic. with a dude. Me and a dude are going to take a submersible to the Titanic.
Who the hell's
Good
going
job.
with him? I get the eccentric billionaire diving down. Who's he? Suckered into that.
I bet he brings a pet if he's that eccentric.
Yeah, really.
His cat.
Yeah, I was studying. I was really a fan of the initial Soviet space exploration. They always brought monkeys. I'm going to get a monkey.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring a monkey
dog.
down to the Titanic. Yeah, what could be cooler than taking a monkey down to the bottom of the ocean? I don't know. I'm sorry. These things, I see stories like this that I just think, literally, dude, what are you doing?
I'm trying to think of something that would be cooler. I can't. I mean, maybe if I Google it, that's pretty damn cool.
Man, I mean, just go off on just say, I'm going to play every hole of putt-putt golf there is in North America. Do something like that. Let us enjoy it. No one cares if you, like you said, Zepp, no one cares if you go down to the Titanic.
No.
What does that mean?
You know how we're gonna remember you? If it implodes.
Yeah.
And that's only for like a week. I
That's
can't remember
right.
the name of the last guy.
And everyone will mourn the monkey.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Now we got a monkey going down with this guy. We're just adding. Yeah. We're just stacking chips on top of this story. There's a gentleman from the state of Kentucky named Henry Earl. He's a legend, and he passed away at the age of 74 this week. Why is he a legend? Well, he was arrested more than 1,500 times. I busted 1,500 times.
I mean, what's that average out to be? How old did you say he was?
He was 74 years old.
74, okay. And I mean, these are on public record. These aren't juvie, right?
No.
Those are sealed. You can't. So now he's 18. So 18 minus 74, divided up. This guy's getting busted once a week.
Take me to jail.
There were several days behind bars each time. A lot. It says when they stopped counting, he was at 6,000 days in county lockup for offenses like public intoxication and disorderly conduct. There were no violent crimes. He's just a guy who liked his he'd have a pop or two and go out and get busted. His last arrest was in 2017, so he did have a nice 7-year run of arrest-free living before passing away at the age of 74. We do have a little audio of my man in court in front of a judge.
This is Henry Earl getting sentenced for his 1,000th arrest, and the judge deciding to give him 1,000 days of jail.
For your anniversary, we'll give you 1,000 days. Don't you think that's appropriate?
No, sir. It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, but you can do it.
No, sir, I can't.
Well, just do the best you can.
No, sir.
Well, we'll see you Thursday and see if you like it then, okay?
No, sir. No, sir.
I don't like it. 1,000 days. That seems harsh. He's got to have a song about him, right? He's been in there so many times, and his name is Henry Earl. That's a
sounds like a song waiting to happen. It's a country song waiting to happen for sure.
No kidding, old Henry Earl.
I've been arrested once, and it wasn't even like a real honest. The record would show, but there were no handcuffs. There was no hands on the hood. It was just a bunch of us went in front of a judge, and we were told we were being arrested, but nothing like that. I mean, so I can't even honestly say I've been arrested once. This guy got over 1,500 busts in his life.
Yeah.
Tony, arrested or no? I don't remember. We've talked about this, but I don't remember the answer.
For not paying my license tabs. Nothing exciting. Yeah, I'm
but like not handcuffed.
My tabs.
Were you booked? They here right in front of the station. Yeah.
What?
There was
they nabbed you at the station for tabs. What were they, like 10 years expired?
Oh, there was a copper who used to do security here, and he kept telling me, "You got to pay those. You got to pay those." And finally, he's like, "Come on outside." And he put me in the back and he cuffed me. He's like, waited too long. Yeah.
And it was for what was the charge?
I didn't get my new tabs. Yeah.
What are
I'm a dangerous man.
What are tabs?
Yeah, the sticker on your license plate.
Tags is what I think of those as.
Yeah,
tabs. Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Man, dude.
I got a dark side, man.
Clearly.
What'd you get for that? 2.5 years?
10 tattoos and a relationship.
That's what the teardrop is for.
Jeez.
The tab I didn't buy. It's a teardrop.
Mine is at the corner of my mouth. It's drool.
Yeah.
Not the teardrop.
Didn't renew my tabs and an improper lane change, so watch it. Holy smokes. How many busts up? How many are there?
Well, I mean, who counts, really?
Henry Earl doesn't.
Somewhere between Henry Earl and Tony. I don't know. I mean, I know 5 for sure.
5 for sure. That's pretty strong. I'm sure that's way ahead of the average.
Yeah, nothing. No felonies, just
sure.
a little disorderly conduct there. Some careless driving. Could have been a
public urination.
Fight or two. No public urination. I didn't get that one. But yeah,
someday.
Got into a scuffle. Mostly misunderstandings. That sort of thing.
Well,
Arrested Development.
Yeah, that all checks out. I mean, communication's key in all walks of life, especially with strangers. And sometimes we miscommunicate.
Yeah, I have an alcohol allergy that I didn't discover for 38 years.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah.
What was the old line?
Now.
I stop every time I drink. I break out in handcuffs.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Wake up in an orange jumpsuit.
Here's something we've talked about this, a lot of things on the show and just in life. We always hear about mommy brain. You hear about and I've said, my wife, we have 2 kids, 2 pregnancies, and she'll be the first to tell you, she just vacant thoughts. I mean, there were times when she could not complete a thought late in the pregnancy and for the first few months of after childbirth, just literally her brain was like a ping pong ball bouncing around. Drives her crazy. There's a new study that says first-time fathers experience brain volume loss as well.
It never goes away.
The more that new dads are engaged in their parenting, the more their brains shrink. Yeah, I know this. I do know this. I used to have what I consider a blessing and even more so a curse, this memory that just wouldn't quit. Yeah. And it lasts most of my life right up until after my son was born. From the summer of 2000 to right now, it is nowhere near as linear and specific, my general memory. I mean, I can remember things like the month, if not the date, but every month, every year, where I was, what happened, when this happened, from 73 up until 2000, everything. Yeah. I mean, no reason to maintain all these memories, but from the minute my first kid was born, it's just it was back in whatever 2000. I remember, it's like he was born in the summer of 2000, and then a little over a year later, and I remember 9/11 very clearly. And then 6 months after that, we moved. I remember that. A couple years later, our daughter was born. I remember that. I mean, that's how my memory works now. It's very, very sporadic.
That's where your focus goes. Your priority, you go into warrior mode.
Yep.
Yeah. Before we have the kids, it's all about us. We're remembering everything because our life is about us. I mean, of course, you have family and people you love, but predominantly your life is about you. And then after that, it's very, very little of it is about you after you have kids.
Very, very true. Very true. I have friends who are, my age. I've got a group of a lot of musician friends that had never had kids, and the conversations we find ourselves having, they just get farther and farther removed from common. The Venn diagram just gets smaller and smaller. Because I realize at some point you're like, I never think about what am I going to do when I have nothing to do? What a nice thought that must be, because you never have nothing to do. I mean, when the kids are smaller, I got buddies who are like, hey man, let's golfing weekend. I'm like, yeah, on what planet do you think I'm going to, sorry babe, I'm leaving to go golfing with the boys. It just doesn't happen. Couple of toddlers in the house. Man, no wonder I don't remember any of it. It's just been miserable now that I think back. Holy crap.
How many Harley Davidsons I've picked up from new dads?
Yeah.
New dad.
That's right.
How much selling the bike for? I'll never sell that bike. All right, I'll call you in a week.
Yeah,
They'll
right.
call you in about 3 days. I got to get rid of the bike. They'll buy it back when the kids are gone. Usually out of college. If they do the college thing, then they're out looking for that bike and they're buying it off a new dad.
Yeah, that's clearly. I'm glad we had this conversation. I've just realized why I don't remember anything, and it's because it's just be too sad to remember all the stuff I didn't do the last 24 years. What a bummer. Hey, you can find Steve Gorman and the KQ Morning Show podcast anywhere you get podcasts, anytime you want. The podcast itself, sponsored by Devani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies. Oh, man, the hoagies at Devani's.
Oh, yeah.
You guys had the hot club last week.
Did you? Yeah, that's going to work for you.
I was going to just have one and then toaster oven the other half. And that makes me laugh when I think about that I was going to save some of it because I was picking up the other half as I was, still finishing the first half. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's a recipe for success. Each and every time. The Timberwolves better come up with a recipe for success pretty darn quick, as they are about to start booking some vacations themselves. It all makes sense. This is the nature of things. And speaking of basketball, the world of basketball, the world itself lost a giant unicorn yesterday. We will pay tribute to the great Bill Walton. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 28th. Before we talk about the sad state of the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's really not that sad. They're a great young team with a bright future. Their season's probably going to end pretty soon. Before we get into that, all of basketball is mourning the loss of the great Bill Walton yesterday at the age of 71.
Sports broadcaster and NBA champion Bill Walton has passed away. Born William Theodore Walton III on November 5th, 1952, Bill first found basketball fame in high school, winning 2 varsity seasons.
I've done a lot of things in my life. I just try to enjoy every moment.
Walton had been a fan of the UCLA Bruins, joining the team and going on to win 2 NCAA championships in 1972 and 1973. He was the first overall draft pick in 1974 for the Portland Trail Blazers. Walton was a dominant force on the court, winning 2 NBA championships, one in 1977 with the Trailblazers and 1986 with the Celtics.
Bill was larger than life in so many ways.
We all worshipped Walton.
Walton retired from professional play in 1990, becoming a highly acclaimed sports analyst working with ESPN and Westwood One, among others. Walton would go on to win an Emmy for Best Live Sports Television Broadcast in 2001. A champion and legend of basketball, we remember Bill Walton.
Around the world of basketball and around the world of music, really just in every walk of life, people are sharing stories and remembrances of Bill Walton. The Dead and Company tweeted, fare you well, we love you more than words can tell. Bill was an irreplaceable force and spirit in our family. Father Time, Rhythm Devil, biggest deadhead ever, over 1,000 shows, couldn't get enough. He loved this band, and we loved him. Deadheads all around the world know what it's like to be at a gig and have that guy standing in front of you. It was always the thing when he would be out, mostly Dead and Company, the Dead before that, whatever. They were playing huge venues. But even if he was just like, if he's in the floor section out front, someone's not seeing the stage because he would stand up and he would dance and he would sing. I had that experience. I not at a Dead show, but at a Bob Dylan show in 1996. It was during the Atlanta Summer Olympics, and they had a House of Blues pop-up venue just for that month. And I went to see Bob Dylan, and Rosemary and I get there, and we're in the balcony looking down on the stage, and the guy in front of us stands up. And it's Bill Walton. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm usually on the taller side. And I'm like, this guy's got like 11 inches on me. I can't see the stage. And we started chatting a little bit and actually had an awesome hang. It was the first time of several that I spent with Bill Walton. But it was hilarious just watching him get lost in the music, the biggest grin on his face imaginable. His wife, kind of jokingly, his poor, long-suffering wife who has to endure every sports geek like me going, hey, Val, so let me ask you another question. And he just couldn't have been more gracious. And they were just so literally delightful. And it was awesome there's a lot of worse ways to watch a Bob Dylan show than to be, hanging with Bill Walton. He came to see some Black Crowes gigs over the years. Our singer Chris had met Bill at Grateful Dead shows, and then so he came out to check us out. The last time I saw him was in San Diego. We played a show right down by the water, and he was there, and he was just out in the house. You're looking out from the stage, and you see, hey, there's the crowd, and there's one giant right there in dead center, not trying to hide himself at all, having the time of his life. And afterwards, he's, just so complimentary, but you could tell he was just in a zone of just pure bliss. Live music just meant as much to him as basketball did. And Bill Walton was a tremendous ambassador for basketball worldwide. Spent a lot of time in Africa and developing nations, going over and holding camps and just being a part of the NBA's efforts to grow the game around the world. He's just a really, really unique guy. Larry Bird yesterday said he was my idol growing up, my favorite player ever, my favorite teammate ever, and then the list just goes on and on and on. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar tweeted yesterday, he very sadly said, "I had to say goodbye to a great friend I will always miss. My very close friend, fellow Bruin, NBA rival Bill Walton. The world feels so much heavier now. On the court, Bill was a fierce player, but off the court, he wasn't happy unless he did everything he could to make everyone around him happy. He was the best of us."
Nice.
That from Jabbar. Pretty strong endorsement from a great man himself.
Do you think he would have been a different person, a different personality if he didn't go to Portland? I think that shaped his kind of hippie persona.
No, he was already there at UCLA. Okay. He was bucking against John Wooden's rules. He was protesting the Vietnam War. He was already getting there, but Portland certainly just added water to the mix, I'm sure. This is a guy who stuttered, barely spoke until he was, in his late teens. He had a horrible stutter and had problems with his knees and then ultimately his feet from the time he was a teenager. Like, he was a senior in high school playing in a lot of pain, and it never went away. We heard a clip earlier. He said he had 30-something surgeries just on his feet. I think the total number of surgeries between his knees and his back and everything was over 50 in his life. And still just everywhere he went just radiated joy. And, for a lot of people I've had conversations where like, oh, he's a great basketball player, but I can't stand him as a broadcaster. And like, they'll say he gets his facts wrong, or he'll give a stat that I know isn't true. And it is kind of like, yeah, but you're kind of missing the point. Like, he was free-forming. Him calling a basketball game was like Jerry Garcia in his mind. He's like, I'm here to just go someplace no one's ever been yet, and I won't even remember what happened later, but it was all about the experience. And I can tell you this, if you were ever in his presence, you just felt great. He literally left you feeling better than before he walked in the room, because that was all very real.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Was Chewbacca from Star Wars based on him?
I believe he talked about that somewhere along the way.
The mix to play Chewbacca? No, I heard that.
Chewbacca is modeled after me.
I'm serious. I heard that you were in the running for that you were being considered to play that role. I'm being dead serious.
You're always serious. That's one of your problems, is that you don't have fun with your life.
But you're not answering the question.
No, George Lucas is as cool as they get. And I remember the night that George and Kareem and Bill Russell and me, we were all up in San Francisco at a big fundraiser for the Martin Luther King Memorial. Beautiful play by Kajani Rice.
So since you're not answering the question, I'm just going to assume it's true.
What was the question?
I'm just going to assume it's true because there's...
I auditioned for Chewbacca, and they said, no, but we're going to model the character after you.
You were in Ghostbusters, and people didn't know that. So again, I think there's a great chance that this is a true story.
I can see where basketball fans, especially the ones watching that game, might think that they weren't getting the most out of their commentators.
First of all, Chewbacca. And secondly, the entire time he's talking, there are young men on that court playing their guts out. You hear the shoes are squeaking on the floor, the dribbling of the basketball, the roar of the crowd, and he's just going, we're in San Francisco at a fundraiser for the great, he's just on a tear. I had him on my sports show several times, and every time, and this is the kind of thing I've heard other people say, and it's entirely true. Welcome him to the show. Bill, how's it going today? And I would just turn my microphone off because I knew he was going to spend the next 3 to 5 minutes with an introductory, this is what's been on my mind, and I'm so glad to be here. And he would reference previous conversations we'd had. It's almost like, when you go to a Broadway play, a musical, and there's the overture. Like the orchestra plays a little bit of every song you're about to hear. That's how he would start an interview. He'd give you a 3 to 5 minute rundown of everything on his mind, and then you would go back and go into each thing in depth. Just a tremendous, tremendous spirit on the guy. And of course, one of the 50 greatest basketball players of all time, hands down. If he had a healthier career, I think he'd be a top 10, top 15 of all time. Despite all his problems, still an absolutely unstoppable force, basketball, on both ends of the court. The greatest college basketball player ever, quite arguably, and certainly one of the greatest pro players ever.
Yeah. You had mentioned this piece of audio on David Letterman 2002, just talking about the 31 surgeries on his feet alone.
Past summer when I had my 31st operation.
Now, see, that's what, on your feet?
On my feet,
That's what I was talking about. That's crazy, isn't it?
When I was lying in the hospital bed, and it's a very serious major operation, 6 months of just laying down there. And my second son, Nathan, who was 24 years old, he came over and sat on the edge of the bed, and he said, "Dad, it's been a long, hard road for you. What are you going to do when your foot finally gets better? What are you going to do when you get up out of this bed?" I said, "Nathan, I am never going to sit down again." So now that we're here in the playoffs, the basketball game has been my...
Fantastic. He was MVP in 77, 78, I believe, and then almost 10 years later with the Celtics, he got the Sixth Man Award. One of the great quotes was his Dave Pasch, his broadcasting partner, said, "You did win Sixth Man of the Year," and Bill Walton said, "Well, all that meant at the time was I was Larry Bird's valet. My job was to tell Larry what time the game started. For that, they gave me Sixth Man of the Year award." Absolutely the best. Self-deprecating while being one of the all-time greats. That's a pretty neat trick to pull off. Yeah. Over 1,000 Grateful Dead shows logged in, and then and 1,000 other concerts. I mean, the guy was constantly taking in live music. Bill Walton was as unique as they come. Just a great dude. 71 years old. And by the way, he did die of cancer. Very few people knew he was even sick. He did tend to keep that to himself, as a man who spread positivity everywhere he went might tend to do. So Godspeed, Bill Walton. Fare thee well. The Minnesota Timberwolves play tonight. They are down 3-0. There have been, in the history of the NBA, I think the number is 156 times in the playoffs, a team has been down 0-3. And not once have they come back to win the series. And I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be the first team to do it. Although, if you look at Twitter, trending right now, Wolves in 7. So
yeah,
a lot of fans are taking the diehard approach here.
Keep the faith, man.
There's always next year.
Yeah. There is always next year. Next year's going to be good for Minnesota. Yeah. I'm telling you.
I don't doubt it.
This is 3 games. All 3 of these games in the final 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Game 3 was the most damning of the 3 performances, if you will. The game was tied with 4 minutes to go, and from there it became basically a Dallas Mavericks shoot-around. The last few minutes of the game are, as Kyrie Irving said, that's what they pay us the big bucks for. That's when execution, that's when it all comes, becomes the most important possible thing. And this is when a small mistake can kill you, and we've seen Anthony Edwards, great player, but he's had some very calamitous moments in the final minutes of these games. He's throwing the ball away. He's losing his confidence is he driving to the hole? No, he's getting caught in no man's land. You've seen it a few times. Totally normal for a 22-year-old kid. I mean, if anything, I think we all, guilty as charged, got over our skis at what he was able to do in that Nuggets series and thinking, oh, my God, he's going to take the leap. And now it's like reality settled in. The history of the NBA is not one where 22-year-olds lead teams to the title. It's just not how that works. Jordan was 28, LeBron was 27, or whatever those numbers are.
So 4 or 5 more years.
Yeah. 4 or 5 more years before he leaves and goes to the Knicks and then really destroys us, as they want to say. But game 4 tonight, hope springs eternal. It is, you got to win one game at a time. We'll see what happens. But, ultimately, I think the fact that the Mavs have the 2 best players on the court at all times, Luka and Kyrie, are just playing at a different level. And Kyrie Irving, after like a 5-year sabbatical from being Kyrie Irving, is back. I mean, my God, he's playing at that level that we thought we'd see forever, 6-7 years ago. Pretty phenomenal to watch that actually happening. So we'll see what happens. I if they win, great. If they lose, great. It was a hell of a season. It's a young team. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is the biggest question mark moving forward.
Yeah.
You can't shoot 30%.
No, when I see a 7-footer just taking fadeaway 16-foot jump shots over men he's got 8 inches on repeatedly and just wanting to shoot threes, it just winds me up. Go to the hole, Carl. Go to the hole, baby. So, hey, check this out. Here's my favorite story of the day.
All right.
Azusa, California, Southern California neighborhood has been terrorized for several years because of some young miscreant with a slingshot. Some punk, some Dennis the Menace knucklehead is been slingshotting a neighborhood for 9 to 10 years. Dozens of reports on a regular basis coming in. Car windows are broken, windshields, people being hit with ball bearings, at a rapid rate of speed. No serious injuries, but it's very concerning, and there's broken glass, and there's all these things. Again, 9 to 10 years, and I'm picturing Dennis the Menace, that kid with the blonde hair and the overalls and the striped shirt.
Is he in his 20s now, or what?
That's what I'm thinking. Like he's probably a college kid by now.
Outgrow it already.
He's a college kid by now, and because he's not been caught, he hasn't stopped. Well, he's been caught. Detectives have made an arrest. The gentleman with the slingshot is 81 years old.
No.
81. They've not released his name yet. However, I really hope this is someone's grandpa.
Who got Grandpa's slingshot? Who
he carved it himself. I bet he whittled it.
Yeah. I mean, that's
on the stoop.
The quote from the police chief. We're not aware of any motive other than just simple malicious mischief.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind that keeps you young at heart is what that is.
He's giggling.
Yeah. It's like, man, people are like, man, your grandpa's like, he's so cool. He just has that pep in his step, and he's really funny. He's still got a big spark in his eye. And, that kid's like, it's the damn slingshot. I hope he never gets caught. It's going to be embarrassing for the family.
Yeah, either that or he's just an angry old man and they took his guns away.
Well, that's actually probably far more realistic. I don't know. It's like, I'm picturing like a guy like, I'm picturing Dick Van Dyke. Like, hey, isn't this fun? It's mischief.
Yeah, right. That's what I want to believe. But I'm just playing the odds on this one.
Oh, man,
probably
that's a good
just
point.
An angry old dude.
God, when's the last time you worked over a slingshot?
Oh, well, they were wrist rockets when I was growing up. Slingshots, those were for kids. You stick them in your back pocket. You guys remember the wrist rockets?
Oh, of course.
It actually anchored on your forearm.
Yeah.
And it was rubber, not that little rubber band. And I remember stepping out of the house. My brother had probably 30 or 40 yards on me. Mm-hmm. And I put a rock in there, and I point it right at him.
Yeah.
Just like Mom told me to do. Just like she taught me. I point it right at him, like he's 30, 40 yards away, and I go, hey, Chris, and he turns around and flinches, and then I take the slingshot and point it way out to the right. Not 90 degrees, but maybe about 45 degrees away from him and up, and let the rock loose, kind of like, gotcha, made you flinch.
Yeah.
But the rock was oblong and a little flat, and the perfect curve. Not in a million years could I recreate this shot right off his forehead.
Oh,
just as
never.
Dad stepped out of the house.
No,
just
not a
as
chance.
Dad stepped out of the house. Yeah, no, right on the forehead. And I mean, this thing was it was like a McDonald's-shaped arc, on the big M there. This thing really came back around, and of course I was very sorry. And Dad's like, "I can't believe you shot your brother." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You think I could make that shot?" But yeah, I'm sure I lost my wrist rocket for a while.
We had a get together at our basketball coach's house in high school. And it was his parents' house. Actually, he was a young guy. Had us over there. His dad had they had an English Springer Spaniel, a female. They bred these dogs, and they had a female in heat, and they had a fenced-in backyard. And while the dog was in heat, neighborhood dogs would all be trying to get over the fence. If you've ever seen that happen, you know that male dogs will come from miles away. And my coach was just standing in the kitchen, and he was explaining that his dad had a gun full of, like, rock salt or something. It wasn't a bullet. It was just something, and he would fire it in the general direction of a dog to scare it away if one got over the fence. And as he was explaining this, he looks up, and lo and behold, there's a big black Labrador right in the backyard. And he opened the back door to the kitchen, and not even looking, he just pointed the gun in that general direction and fired. You go see, because it'll scare the dog off. And we all watched a dog take a shot right between the eyes.
Oh no!
And it just fell over. It was gone immediately. I mean,
it wasn't right. He had the wrong round in.
Had the wrong round in. And the coach didn't even. I mean, did it looking back away? I mean, he was looking looking at us, put the gun behind him, fired, and that dog just went over. And we all there was just this.
Yeah, what
He's
in the
like,
hell?
hey, Dad.
Awkward.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, 1 in a million. And also, please, before you pull the trigger, know what's in the gun, please. But
good idea. Real good idea.
But, yeah, what are the odds?
You know what? It could never, like you said, never could happen again. I mean, the dogs in the neighborhood were safe from that day forward. No chance that sucker was going out the back door with a gun in his hand again. Hey, it's always something. It's always some day, every day. And what about Burger Day? That's one we can all get excited about. We'll give you some deals. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, May the 28th, which is the day after Memorial Day, which is a day that many of us ate burgers off the grill. Lots of grilling happening, lots of barbecue going on. And so, of course, today is National Hamburger Day. Honestly, I'm surprised by the timing of that.
Yeah,
this is a tasty burger.
I think you'd put that. I think you'd put that a little further away from a holiday such as Memorial Day, where grills are just blasting off aplenty. But But then again, I'm not part of the National Burger Council. I'm not the guy making these choices. But if you are still in the mood for a burger, if you didn't get enough yesterday, there are plenty of deals around. Wendy's is handing out junior bacon cheeseburgers for a penny if you order through the website or the app.
Oh, Wendy. That's so nice.
You got to get the app. Burger King is marking its 70th birthday. Free hamburger today if you spend 70 cents and join their rewards program. Come on. Don't make me. Just give me a burger.
Yeah. Just put your hand
You
out.
want me to come back again down the road? Don't make me sign up for the rewards program. You want to bring me back into the store? Just give me something free the first time. Come on. It's just tough, man. Jack in the Box has free. Do we have Jack in the Box in this part of the world? I didn't think so.
No.
Do we have Hardee's? Because it's basically the same thing. Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box. They're all this.
Right up 169, there are 2 Hardee's.
Oh, nice.
I often will hit both on the same road trip in the same direction.
Is that true?
You get the bread. Yeah, you get out. If I'm going up to Princeton, do a little golfing, I'll stop at the first Hardee's, get 2 Frisco breakfast sandwiches, and about a few more miles up the road, 2 more Frisco breakfast sandwiches.
Hardee's, if I'm not mistaken, their slogan is Hardee's when you can't find a McDonald's. Isn't that the...
No, it's much better than... I don't know what happened to Hardee's. First of all, you've got your hot ham and cheese.
Okay.
You don't have a lot of fast food places slinging the ham anymore.
That's very true. I had no idea they had a hot ham and cheese there.
Yeah, big hot ham and cheese, and that's the only place I can get it. And then, of course, the greatest breakfast sandwich of them all is the Frisco breakfast sandwich. Sourdough bread, 2 slices of cheese. You got your cheddar and whatever the white stuff is, and then a whole bunch of egg and ham in there as well.
Remember Burger King had a ham and cheese, and they called it the Yumbo.
Remember that?
Yeah. The Yumbo?
Yumbo.
No, they get points for the name. Yumbo. I like that. Yeah.
Yumbo sounds like the 6th Marx Brother.
The forgotten.
Old Yumbo.
Yeah. Well, you had Zeppo, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Gummo.
Yeah.
And then Yumbo.
Groucho. He was the tubby Marx Brother.
The tubby Marx Brother. So Hardee's is not when you can't find a McDonald's. Okay. That's what you're telling me.
Well,
if brands were being honest, they would have more creative slogans, such as for Pepsi, "Are we okay?" I like that one. If you're outside the state of North Carolina, which is where Pepsi hails from, and someone orders a Pepsi, I always look at them sideways. Really?
Yeah.
You're taking that over Coke? Do you know any Pepsi people?
I do know some Pepsi people. It's true. I do. I don't know. We remember the Cola Wars. Now it's different these days because there aren't two top dogs duking it out. There's a billion of them, all owned by Pepsi and Coca-Cola. But there are just so many of them, and soda, pop, whatever you want to call it, isn't what it used to be. There's energy drinks and everything else. So, but I remember the Cola Wars, and I'm a Coca-Cola guy. But I have some people in the family that are hardcore Pepsi.
I've got nothing but love for RC Cola, the Royal Crown Cola. If you can still find that,
that was the go-to because it was a bit cheaper. I think it was a nickel cheaper, whatever, for a box of
I'm saying this, I haven't had an RC in 30 years, but when high school, college age, when the Cola Wars were really, when Pepsi and Coke went to the mattresses in the mid-'80s, the blind taste testing years, I was the guy always going like, man, RC's better than both of them. And I meant it at the time, which just tells you how much effort I put into trying to stand out from the crowd.
Now, what about that whole new Coke thing? Did that rankle you a little bit like it did me?
Oh, yeah, no, it was terrible. It was just flat.
But brilliant.
New Coke was just old Coke without any flavor. It was just an interesting concept.
Then they brought back Coke Classic, and suddenly it was like they were heroes. They got a ticker tape parade or something.
That's exactly right. They hoodwinked us all.
They did.
They got us to buy in. It's like the royal family. Every now and again they gotta knock someone off, and then all of a sudden we care again. And it's the end of the day. I mean, I went down a Kate Middleton rabbit hole over the weekend, and at 12 minutes in, I'm like, I don't care. What poor girl? She's sick, or she's dead, or she's ran away, or hopefully she's like in a hang glider somewhere. But I don't care either way.
The question is this the second Kate Middleton?
Right.
Is it the third Kate Middleton?
Exactly. And the truth is, I don't care.
We don't care. No, we don't.
Now, in 20 years, season 9 of The Crown, I'll watch it. But in reality, I like these people on The Crown. I could care less than when I realize they're actually real people.
Yeah.
How about a slogan for Target? When you'll pay a little more to not shop at Walmart.
Oh,
I like it.
Funny because it's true.
It's very much so. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Frontier Airlines. We're not happy until you're not happy. It's pretty good.
I've had some good flights on Frontier. I really have, but that's
as have I.
They've taken their knocks over the years, and it's a budget airline. I mean, that's the position they take. That's brilliant. We're not happy until you're not happy.
That's it. We're not Benadryl. You can't have allergies if you're asleep. I like that one too.
Yeah.
And then finally, Taco Bell. It's late. You're high. We're open.
Oh yeah.
All you need to know.
Zepp, you traveled over the weekend. You were in a wedding, and it was. Do you mind sharing the location?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, I was supposed to be, but I wasn't.
What the hell?
I'll tell you guys about it over beer sometime. It's not my story to tell, but it's about as weird a scenario as I've ever found myself in. I guess maybe not that weird. I'm not going to go on and on because I'm not going to be a tease about it, and it's not my story to tell. It would be a big reveal for me.
That makes sense.
To drop this bomb, but yeah.
There was a plan anyway.
Yeah, the fishing was great.
The fish,
got some snappers.
Wow.
Some of that wahoo.
Smokes. Yeah. I just learned that lesson every first-year lawyer learns. Don't ask a question in court unless you already know the answer.
I wasn't going to bring it up. But I will tell this to any listener, and you can catch me out on the boat cruise. Buy me a cocktail, and I'll tell you all about it.
Okay.
And your jaw will probably drop.
Sounds good. So, but just to be if I can ask you one question,
sure.
You were not a part of a wedding where a groom shot one of the guests, were you?
No.
Okay, good.
I saw the headline of that story. Yeah. Tell me more. I wish it was. It's not even that cool, I'm afraid.
Okay, just in Indiana, wedding reception, a scuffle broke out. As they do. Real happy to share in the blessed nuptials, and then a Donnybrook erupts at the reception. The culmination of this fight was the groom shooting a guest in the hand. The groom was packing. He pulled out his gun.
You're supposed to hand him the ring.
Yeah. Apparently the festivities were winding down. An argument between a wedding guest and his wife. This is just a guest and his wife, a couple there. The woman accuses her husband of flirting with another guest.
Of course.
They start going back and forth. The groom gets involved. He starts fighting with the accused flirter, if you will. A gun was pulled. There's a struggle over the gun. The gun fired and hit yet a third uninvolved guest in the hand.
Drop the cake.
I hope it was a wedding crasher.
Yeah,
at
the
least.
groom. That would be great. The groom is denying it was intentional. He says told the police the gun just went off during, as he put it, all the rustle and bustle.
The chicken dance.
That was it.
You put your left gun in, you pull your left gun out.
I've been to a lot of weddings, and I've been to a lot of weddings with a lot of drinking, and I don't recall a single fight, much less one with gunfire.
Not sure why you need those at weddings. I could see back in the day when you shot them in the air for a good time. That was fun.
Well, if this is Indiana in, say, the 1870s, sure. Yeah, get a revolver in there. Get a 6-shooter. Watch your back.
You kick your feet up in the air and you do it with 2 pistols at once. But I don't know what some of these people. Listen, all my relatives all pack heat everywhere they go. Into the grocery store. I'm like, really? What do you think's going to happen? But you never know when there's going to be a shootout in the parking lot at the Red Owl in Huron.
Right.
But at a wedding, really? Okay.
Well,
stick it right there in your cummerbund, or
if you're the jilted ex, okay, I can kind of see the thinking, which is
that's the last place I'd allow firearms. Everyone would have to walk through a metal detector, and like I said, I'm all for I'm pro firearms, but at a wedding when everyone's drunk, emotions are running high, because you know why? Someone's going to get shot.
That's exactly right.
That's what happened.
The three of us have all crossed over the positive-negative Rubicon, by which I mean we're over 42 years old. This just in. If you're feeling like you're getting a little more negative as you age, well, the average line in the sand, apparently, according to folks, is about 42. You generally feel more sour after the age of 42.
All right. Well, I am a bit more sour, but I am also a lot less willing to do anything about it. Does that make sense?
No, of course. It's like you've got all the wisdom and just not any of the chutzpah to do anything.
No gumption to get anything done about it. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to piss and moan.
Pissing and moaning is a big part of what we do around here. And we're good at it because, again, we're all well past 42.
Yeah.
What are the things that irritate us the most? Here are the top 10 for 42 and up. This is if you find yourself kind of bitching a little bit more than usual. As I said, you are hardly alone. Grocery prices, number one. For the first time that I can remember, I'm openly bitching about the price of groceries on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Truly, I am. I'm astounded every time I go to the grocery store, which is often. And I bought a cucumber last week, and like one cucumber was like $2.19. I was like, come on. Seriously? It's a cucumber. It's going to give me, if I juice it, it's going to be like half a cup of juice.
Yeah. No, I you know what I'm doing now? You talk about being past 42. I'm looking at my receipt. I'm like,
sure.
There's something. Did I ring something through 12 times?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. It's just expensive.
I got yelled at by my wife last week as we're leaving Costco for the 90th time. I go, this guy's not even. What's this receipt thing? You hand them the receipt, they take a Sharpie and they draw a line through it.
Right.
And I'm like, they're not even count. What is this? What is this guy? She's like, would you just shut up? It's never been a problem. It never happens. Yeah, you hand them the receipt. They look at your cart. They look at the receipt. They look at your cart. They look at the receipt. They draw a line on it, and you leave. Don't worry about what the point is. But the older I get, the more I go, I'm just like, why? What is this illusion that you can look at you're not counting items in my cart?
Yeah, like they're a savant, like they're Rain Man. I can immediately look at your cart, and I know that, and at your receipt.
Yeah, you're the guy on the train in the old joke where I counted 300 sheep. You didn't have time to. Well, actually, I counted the legs and divided by 4. Like, what? Okay, whatever. That's you at the Costco checkout dude.
Yeah.
Something else we're always bitching about, someone else's driving. Guilty.
Yeah, of course. You can't.
As long as you don't turn it into road rage, one of the easiest ways to feel better about yourself is just take a look at the knuckleheads around you at all times.
No, it's like, I think it's burping. Better out than in. You gotta, you don't want the rage. You don't want to stew on it. Just, Get it out.
I don't know if you guys remember this. My first week on the air here last year, January of 2023, I came in the morning, and I said, man, I watched a guy like run off the road into the grass, like he lost control in the ice. And I was like, I can't believe that. You all looked at me, and I'm like, I just figured everybody up here knows how to drive in this stuff. And you all were like, why would you think that? I'm like, I don't know. I just assumed because you get so much snow and ice, and you were all like, no, people are completely insane up here. And it was, and I noticed it not this past winter, but winter and spring of 23. Like every time we got a big snowfall, I was like amazed. I was like, man, I just thought you guys would have this whole thing figured out,
mastered.
No, you'd think it's actually quite the opposite.
Not even close.
We get so complacent and so used to it that we don't think we need good tires. We don't think we need all-wheel drive. We certainly think we can slam on the brakes in traffic and slick conditions. Yeah, it's
you forget every year.
Yeah, every year. I mean, they forget. I don't.
Yeah. Another big one on the list: customer service. I personally don't.
What is that?
Ever get excited about customer service? My wife will go to the wall to let someone know they've done their job poorly. I mean, it's like a thing with her.
Yeah.
This goes back years, like 90s. She'd be, calling in like to order a pizza, and if she didn't like the attitude, she'd be like, "Hey, I'm the customer here," and I'd look at her, "What are you talking about?" It was just something instilled in her. It's a family. It's a Priola family.
Good for her.
Thing. If she's at a store and she just thinks someone's giving her attitude, she will just stop the entire thing and want to. I'm like, babe,
it's awesome.
If I were working here, I'd be in a bad mood too. Let the guy go. Who do you care?
Right. But now it's also hypersensitive. We've moved too far, and the pendulum's kind of swung that way.
Yeah.
That she's a Karen now if she does that.
Well, yeah, no, she's definitely trying not to be that Karen. At the time, she was like, I guess in the 90s, you would have called it just a bitch, and now it's Karen.
Yeah.
Now, there was one time this is a true story, calling a local pizza place, and the guy was just giving her all this attitude, just about whatever. She's like, "Hey, you have a problem?" He's like, "I ain't gonna, bro." And she was like, "What is your name?" And I looked at her, I'm like, she's like 26 years old, and I'm like, "What is your name?" That's what grandmas say on the phone. And she slammed the phone down, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so mad." I go, "Why?" And she goes, "He said my name's Eddie Haskell," and hung up.
Oh,
which is a reference for it. And I was like, yeah, because you're on the phone. He's just some dude making a pizza. He doesn't care about your, I don't know, who knows
Steve,
what it was.
get in the car. We're going down there.
Yeah, and she would just go, "You just hate confrontation." I'm like, yeah, with strangers over a pizza, yeah. I got other things on my mind.
You never seem to win them, do you?
No, you really don't.
No.
And see, the difference was I had worked in food service, and I know what happens when you piss off the guy making your food.
Oh, yeah.
I did, too. I was the bus boy. And I would, do not send the food back into that kitchen. We have a drunk cook, and not a chef.
Yeah.
We have a drunk cook.
Yep.
Trust me, he's drunk all the time. And if you send something back to him, he's going to do unspeakable things to it.
Yeah. I learned making doing pizza at a place, Fellini's in Atlanta. You was by the slice. You can get a whole pie, but most people come in, especially late at night, they're just looking for a slice because they're drunk and they're walking through the neighborhood. And first week on the job, second or third shift, it's 1:45 a.m. We're all drunk. We're just waiting for 2 o'clock so we can lock the door and start cleaning up. And this guy came in. He's like, "Oh, your cheese slice." And my buddy Sid behind the counter is like, "Anything else?" He goes, "Just a cheese slice, man." Got in his face. And I go, "Hey, dude, you know what? Why don't you?" And Sid goes, No, it's fine, Steve. It's fine. He ordered a cheese slice. He's going to get a cheese slice. And the guy's like, and the guy is angry, gets steam coming out of his mouth. And Sid takes the slice and he puts it on the plate and turns around to put it into the oven. And he looks at me and says, "He asked for an oyster, didn't he?" And he just goes, and right onto the slice. Put it in the oven. He did it before he put it in the oven, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Not after. So chances are.
Sanitary, right.
So it was sanitary and more well hidden when the cheese melted around the globule from Sid's face. And right then I was like, yeah, that's right. Never, ever, ever, ever get the guy making your food mad at you. You just don't know. These are the things we learn.
That would terrify me if I came in chippy and made a quip, and the person was terribly calm. Yeah, then I definitely don't want what you're making back there where I can't see it.
Did you charge him for the glob?
He did not, no. But I watched him eat every bite of it with a smile on my face. This was, I should say, the same restaurant that had a cat.
What?
We just had a cat in the house. The cat's name was Hobart, which was the name of the mixing machine to make the dough, and the cat was there because of all the mice. And the cat, and customers would be sitting down eating their pizza while a mouse was at their feet while a cat was at their feet playing with a mouse before eating it.
Well, I mean,
and when the health department shut us down, we were shocked.
It's folksy.
Come on. Be cool, man. We got a good stereo. Who cares if there's a cat eating mice while people are eating their dinner?
If the pizza's cheap enough, there was a day where I would have overlooked that. Yeah.
Oh, it was free for me, so trust me, I overlooked it every day. All right, let's look back. Barry Bonds, on this day in 1998, for the first time, was walked in a baseball game with the bases loaded. The Diamondbacks had an 8-6 lead, ninth inning, bottom of the ninth inning, bases loaded, and they walked Barry Bonds rather than pitch to him. They gave up so then now the game's 8-7. Imagine being, it's cool if you're Barry Bonds. You're like, man, these guys are so afraid of me. They're going to give up a run rather than have me hit. You feel good about yourself. But imagine being the dude on deck. You're like, wait a minute. They think so little of me, they're just going to give a run to Barry Bonds. He was only the fourth player in Major League history at that time to be intentionally walked with the bases loaded. That was just the first of several times that happened in his career. Suffice to say, despite the steroids and all the HGH and everything else, Bonds could always hit the ball pretty well.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.